section. So, we have been talking, and we thought it might be kind of nice to give you maybe our opinions of things to consider before overlanding, before you just, take off in that truck or whatever you may have that you want to go overlanding in. So that kind of segues into what is the first thing we think would be important to consider before you overland?
Your vehicle. Depends on what kind of overlanding you want to do. There's several different types. If you want to spend most of your time on the interstate going from state to state, just any all-wheel drive, don't have to worry too much about your clearance, maybe an all-terrain tire. Now, if you want to get to where you do forest stuff,
kind of like what we do,
then you probably want something with a high clearance, not necessarily a lift kit, because then you're, to me, that you're kind of, I'm more about budget, and you can have a lot of fun without having to spend your mortgage on vehicle or accessories.
Unless you are wanting to do like the really technical, boulder crawling type overlanding.
Which if that's your thing, that's great.
Yeah.
Me, I don't, because whatever I drive out there, I need to really be able to drive home. So I don't want to break anything. Now, you're going to have things break. That's just the way it goes. I don't mind water crossings. I don't mind rough roads. And roads that you really need a four-wheel drive or a high clearance all-wheel drive to get up. But to actually be rock crawling, not really what I want to do. That's what makes the difference in what vehicle you get.
You decide what vehicle you want, then what?
Well, then you got to decide what kind of stuff that you need for the kind of overlanding you're going to do. Tires is probably the number one thing on my list, depending on what you're going to do. Like I said before, if you're going to spend most of your time on the interstate going from state to state, and very smooth gravel roads or whatever, all terrains would be fine. If you do plan on going through some water crossings, maybe some mud, and just rough in general, then I run MTs on our vehicle just because it's a little bit of a mixture of everything, and it's really good for mud. And in Missouri and Arkansas, you got that clay and that mud, and boy, it'll cake up a tire, and then you're done. You got to be able to have a tire that will throw the mud out and get some traction. Where to sleep depends on the budget.
We kind of struggled with this one, actually.
We did.
If you go back and kind of look at some of our videos at the beginning of our overlanding playlist, we actually, built this Hummer out, somewhat. And obviously you've seen we still use the little kitchen area and all the storage underneath the platform and all that. We did that with the intentions of sleeping in the rig while overlanding. And while it does work, and we do still or plan to use that, but we're going to use it more for like A to B, stopping in the middle, so like we need to overnight it at a truck stop or a rest stop or something like that. We can still use this, but we kind of learned that after just that trip to Utah, we were kind of like, oh, this is not real comfortable for every single night. So then we struggled with, what do we want? Do we want a rooftop tent? Do we want to pull a little off-road trailer? Or do we want a ground tent? Well, you can see which way we just chose to go.
Which the biggest factor there, again, is budget. If you want to, a rooftop tent really has its advantages. It does have a few disadvantages, but
for me, a big disadvantage was my dog. Getting her in and out of the rooftop tent. Right. It's kind of a struggle to get her in and out of the Hummer because it sets up a little bit, and I don't think she's not a big jumper when it comes to like jumping up on things. If it's a little too tall for her, she's out. She's done. Maybe she gets that from me. She's a little lazy. I don't know, but yeah. So that was a big consideration for me. I don't want to have to haul her up a little bitty ladder to get her in a rooftop tent, and I don't want her to have to sleep in the Hummer while we're up on top. That I just didn't like the idea.
Well, and that also kind of goes with terrain. A rooftop tent, you got to be real careful. You're going through these Missouri forest roads. There's a lot of low-hanging limbs, and you can do a lot of damage to a rooftop tent with a big limb that hits it.
That's true.
You know, I've seen people. I mean, obviously you would have wind issues with a ground tent, but you know, the rooftop tent, you're up on top of your vehicle, so you're even higher up in the air. You know, so you're going to grab a little bit more wind depending on where you're at.
Obviously, those are kind of our pros and cons of, you know, I mean, everybody's going to have their own opinion, and you can go find plenty of videos on YouTube where people love their rooftop tents. You know, it's each individual person and what they like, really. We're just telling you what and why, I guess, kind of we chose what we did. So we ended up with the tent. It's a quick pop out. If you haven't watched those videos, you can go back and check and see. I mean, we've shown it in a couple of different videos how easy it is to set up. It's very quick to set up. Not extremely affordable, I guess, in the area of tents, but not extremely outrageous either.
Not as expensive as a rooftop tent.
No, not even close. But we love it. We're kind of loving it. You know, it's quick to, like I said, it's quick to set up, and it's tall enough that we can stand up in it, which was a huge plus.
And plus, it breaks down real fast.
Yes.
I mean, we can air down and their mattresses and break it down and have everything wrapped up in 15 minutes, and we're ready to go.
Right. That kind of just leads into sort of the how do you decide what you want or what you need in order to eat. I mean, because obviously you've got to eat while you're on these trips. And you've seen our setup. You know, we have the Hummer that we built out and have the little pull. You can probably see it. I think it. Oh well, no, you can't because the door's in the way. But the little pull-out table. The platform lifts up. All our food and utensils and things are under there. We started out with a little propane cook stove, and I found a little butane one really cheap at a surplus store, and I'm really loving it more than the propane one. It takes up a little less space. I only need one burner anyway. I don't need two because we don't cook extravagant meals while we're overlanding. It's just I want quick, I want fast. We do not have a refrigerator at this time. We would consider doing a really nice review for somebody if they wanted, a company wanted to send us one of those, what do you call them? The DC, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Dometic.
Yeah, whatever,
they two compartment.
They plug in, to your cigarette lighter. Yeah. They don't take up a lot of wattage. We could run it on our Blue Eddy. Feel free, send me an email. I'd love to give you a review for one of those. That is something we would consider, but right now, I mean, we're just using our ice or chest, or the cooler, and it's just an Ozark Land one. We actually did a review on it. It's in our reviews playlist, product and reviews. I'm not kidding. This is probably the best little cooler we've ever had. It will hold, I mean, if you just throw in a bag of ice, it may be all melted in a couple of days, but it's still really cold. So that's really nice. We actually got to where we started freezing some bottles of water. And I know that's not a new thing. A lot of people do that. And that actually works a little better and it's less messy, We don't take a lot of stuff that needs to be refrigerated. We, drinks, stuff like that, is more what needs to be refrigerated that we take. Every once in a while we might have some, condiments, or, maybe I have a special meal plan that first night out or something, like cheese might be in there or something. But so far that's worked fine. And, if we go on a week-long trip with it, we will probably do bags of ice because we'll need to be able to, replenish the cold. The frozen bottles of water aren't going to last. But that's something to consider. Are you going to want a refrigerator? Then you got to consider your space, and then you got to go back to the idea of what kind of vehicle am I going to get? Am I going to have space for all of this?
And
Cost. How are you going to power it? Because then you're looking at a bigger power station. You're looking, or wiring something up specific for it. Whatever. And I mean, a lot of people take a little fridge with them. They do. They take those, and I'm not saying, that we wouldn't never get one, but right now, I mean, we've fared pretty well without it.
Yep.
I am a huge fan of easy meals, though. So, like the ramen, and I know a lot of people aren't big fans of ramen, but it's so easy. Boil that water, pour it in there, wait a few minutes. Same for oatmeal. You can get the cups of oatmeal. You don't have to have a microwave. Just boil that water, put it in there, let it set for a few minutes, and you're good to go. Pre-cooked bacon that doesn't have to be refrigerated. It's shelf stable. That's a great way to go. The hash browns that we have, the dehydrated hash browns, that's another good way to go. There is a lot of foods that you can take with you, and you don't have to buy them little dehydrated hiking meals from Walmart.
Freeze-dried,
that are
$10 a piece.
Yeah, those are like ridiculously priced, and you don't need to buy those. You can if you want to, and they are easy, but I'd just soon do it this way, the way we do it, and, sandwiches are good too, peanut butter jelly. Whatever. So that kind of leads us into the next topic that we were going to talk about is power source. So like if you are going to have a refrigerator, obviously you're going to need a better power source. We have two power stations. The Blue Eddy we purchased in the beginning when we knew we were going to do this overlanding thing, and then we were sent an A-Space to review and just kind of update you on that. It's been several months since I did that initial unboxing and testing of it and all that stuff, and so far, honestly, I like it better than the Blue Eddy. I like the digital display. It actually tells me my actual percentage that's left, not in 20% increments like the Blue Eddy does. This will tell me I have 86% left or whatever. It tells me how many hours I have left. It's telling me exactly how many watts I'm pulling with whatever I have plugged into it. And quite honestly, I believe it stays charged and runs longer with the same stuff than that Blue Eddy does. So don't overlook the lesser priced non-name brand power stations, because I do think, and I'm not getting any money or anything from A-Space for this, I'm just telling you, I really do like it, and if I was to actually purchase knowing what I know now, I would have bought it and not the Blue Eddy. So there you go. The actual point was, how do you know, what you need? What are you going to run? That's what you need to know.
Yeah, like us, we run 2 USB fans at night.
My sound machine.
Her sound machine.
Gotta have that because snoring.
Anyways, well, charge phones, charge laptop, charge iPad,
charge a camera,
all your equipment,
whatever.
One power station, depending on, I don't know what wattage is. Ours about 600 watt. Or 600.
Yeah, I think it's a 600 watt.
They seem to be they do fine.
Take both.
We do.
So we have both the Blue Eddy and the A-Space with us. Or is it AM-Space? No, I think it's A-Space. I don't remember now. But anyway, yeah. So we take them both. It's just honestly we rarely use the Blue Eddy because we haven't needed to.
But now if you have a fridge or anything like that, not that they're a huge pull, but it's a constant pull. Mm-hmm. So, you'll just have to judge, if you have one, have to see how much watts it pulls and just add it up and see how long that's going to last you.
If it's something that actually plugs in, like the AC outlet, regular outlets, if it's something like that, you can buy a little gadget from, where did we get that? Like Lowe's or something maybe?
Yeah.
That you can plug into your wall and plug that item in, and it will tell you how many watts or amps that the item pulls. So it can kind of give you an idea, so if you're going to use this specific fan or a CPAP, that's pretty popular. A lot of people, I guess, use CPAP machines, and we've, actually been asked, will this run a CPAP? Both of those would easy. They very, very easily would run all night long. I might have to charge it the next day because I don't know exactly how much a CPAP runs, but, I would say you might get by with 2 nights on it if nothing else was plugged into it. That's a maybe. I don't use one, so I'm not really sure. I don't know if either one of those would run a refrigerator, though.
Oh, it would for a
Well,
while.
for very long.
I don't think, the thing is, it just depends on the refrigerator. Because, the ones that have a freezer and a fridge, they're going to pull a little bit more juice. Some of them fridges have a little built-in battery where at night you can undo your power, and that battery will power through the night because it's not getting open and closed, so it don't use as much energy. And then you can just plug it back in in the morning when you take off, after you open it up to get your bacon out or whatever.
Which actually would be the one that I'd probably want if we were going to get one. So I don't know what company that is, but if you're watching,
Well, you're really
go
trying,
ahead, go
aren't
ahead and
you?
send me an email. I'll get you my address. The last thing that I think is a pretty important thing, and we've actually been questioned many, many times about this, and well, at least about the one item. And our most popular video on YouTube is called "We Stopped Using Kitty Litter." I think.
Does it stop the stink?
Yeah, that's the thumbnail, I believe. So we used to use kitty litter. We have a little porta potty, a little Reliance. It's just basically a bucket sitting inside of a little casing that has a toilet seat and a lid. And we used to use trash bags with kitty litter. There are specifically made biodegradable toilet trash bags. Kitty litter does work, but if anybody knows anything about kitty litter, it'll clay up and it clumps and it gets really, really, really heavy. And the more it's used, the more it makes stinky. And we were told by a very, very good friend that they use in their composting toilet pine pellets, which is bedding for animals, horses, rabbits, whatever. And you can get this at like Tractor Supply or Rural King or, whatever kind of farm and home type store. And you get like 40-pound bags, and they're like $6-7 now. And when we started, they were like $5, but inflation. And it's been 3.5 years, I believe, and I still love the pine pellets because I don't want to divert. Now I'm going to say this again, and I'm saying it again because so many people have said, well, if you would not mix your, I don't want to have to use a jug to tinkle in. I don't want to. That was my whole point in switching to the pine pellets, because they will fluff up as they get wet, but they still smell like pine. They completely cover the smell of the urine. Now, if you go for several days, it will start to stink. It will. And, I purposely tested to see, and once it started to, I'm like, oh, okay, we got to switch it out. It was about 4 days. So, not too bad, Typically, one will last me the whole weekend. And then obviously, he don't, because dudes just don't need to. This is for the girls. This whole subject right here is for the ladies.
That's
so,
discrimination.
I don't care. But you can also do number 2 in it too, and I've done that. If you watch one of our previous videos for our overlanding, I got off of Amazon, I got a break it down potty. It folds up real nice and neat and all that. A little smaller than the one that we have in the camper. But we still bring the pine pellets. We still use that, and we still use the bags, and we do, it's the same process. It's just a smaller potty.
One warning with that little potty, though. If you got bad knees, that thing sets really low.
It does.
That's all I'm going to say.
It does set kind of low to the ground. It's pretty short. Yeah, or if you're really, really tall, that could be a really big problem. You sit down and your knees are up to your nose.
Yep.
Yeah.
But besides that, it works great.
Yeah, it does. It works really good. And we're still very extremely happy with the whole pine pellet thing. No, I am not going to use a jug, so don't bother to comment below and let me know that, because I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. Showers is another big thing, because now, like for a weekend, you're pretty good. You just shower right before you leave, and then you shower when you get home. You don't have to shower daily. Gosh, if you do have to shower daily, feel free. But what we do when we do shower is we take a shower tent, and we have a couple of them. We have one that's the poles, it's like an old time to me
tent.
a tent. Yeah, even though it's not old.
Right, right.
But it's like that. It has all the poles and the guy wires and the, you know, it works great. We used it when we went on our 2-week trip to Oregon. We used that, and it worked. It worked great. But for overlanding, it's kind of chunky. It takes up some extra space. It's not quick to set up. It's not quick to tear down. It's actually kind of a pain. We got one of those pop-up tents that's more like a changing room than a shower, but they do say that it's a shower. I don't know. I can't even remember the brand it is. It came off of Amazon. But it works okay, you know, and it works for showering and stuff like that, you know, and you don't take a long time when you're out in nature, you know, to shower. You typically just shower, clean yourself, and you're done. You know, you don't stand there under the water, you know. Well, some of us don't.
You got a lot of hair to wash.
Yeah. But those do work great, and I think that was like, I think it was what, $20?
Yeah, something like
or
that.
something like that, and it's a quick setup. You just like, and it pops up. It's actually quicker to set it up than to tear it down, because you have to like fold it a certain way and get
It's
it
like
to
a window shade.
yeah, and it has to turn into a circle, and it's, I don't know, it's all, you got to twist it just right, and so it's kind of a pain to put back together or tear back down, or
But as far as water goes for the shower, we have a 5-gallon solar bag. So we fill it with
you
water.
might want to explain that.
Okay, so it's a black bag. We fill it with water, set it out in the sun, it warms the water up. Then you can just hang it on the hook inside your little shower tent. It's got a little nozzle on it with a little shower head, and you got nice warm water. And that's how we do it.
You can also hang those shower bags from like a tree limb or something. If you know, maybe you don't have the shower tent, you have like, you know, some people will actually like make a shower tent with just like a tarp and maybe a hula hoop or something. You know, you can do that, and you know, or even a shower curtain and a hula hoop. But you would need something to hang, so you can hang it from like a tree limb or whatever. Just make sure it's not a dead tree limb, because that bag gets really, it's really heavy. Yeah, when it's filled. I don't even know if we've actually filled it. I would
Probably
say we
not.
put maybe 2 to 3 gallons in it.
Yep.
Yeah, but it does work really well. The little shower nozzly thingy isn't like, you know, a full force shower. You know,
It's not massaging.
No, and it, you know, for like me doing my hair, I have to wash my hair. I cannot do that don't wash your hair thing. And I'm not going to use dry shampoo. You know, that was a thing in the 70s. It didn't work then, and I'm sorry, but I don't think it works now.
Do you remember
So-
the 70s?
Shh. No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm only 26.
Okay.
We also, I don't know if you can see it or not, that big blue jug sitting on top of the Hummer. I don't know if they can see that. Maybe.
Maybe.
That's our water jug. So that's what we take. It's 5 gallon, and we take that with us, and we do, you know, we do the quick. What do they call that? An army shower?
Whatever, yeah, something
An
like
army
that.
shower, navy shower, whatever. You do. You quick shower. You do not sit there with the water running. You turn it on, get yourself wet, soapy up, and then, you know, turn it back on and rinse off. You don't let it run the whole time. That way you preserve water.
The most important thing is you don't have to have the $70,000-$80,000 vehicle. You don't have to have the best of the best to get out here and do something. You know, we've had that thing for 15 years. It's got almost 200,000 miles on it. Is it worth anything? I don't know, but it gets us where we want to go. So, you know, if whether it's a truck, you know, a little Subaru or whatever, just know your limitations, you know, and make sure you have communication or somebody that knows where you're going to go. That way, if you get out there, you know, because a lot of places has no cell phone service. You know, if you're missing for a couple days, you have, you know, breakdown or something. That way, somebody knows where you're at.
Yeah, always tell somebody when you're going somewhere.
Yeah, we
Especially
always do.
remotely.
Yeah,
and always let them know when you're going to be back or when you plan to be back. That way, you know, yeah, something happens, somebody knows kind of where to point people in the direction.
Yep.
I think that's kind of it. You know, if you have questions about anything for overlanding, we're not professionals.
Nope.
We've only been doing this for a little bit, and I mean we love it, and we don't intend to stop it, you know. And hopefully we'll learn more as we go. Well, we'll be happy to answer any questions if we could, or we may be able to tell you somebody to ask if you have a certain question that we don't know an answer to. Cut.
You've been waiting the whole time for that, haven't you?
I know.